to a Hope 1032 podcast.
As followers of Jesus, in whom all things were made, we acknowledge the Darug people as the traditional custodians of the country of where this podcast is recorded. We acknowledge their continuing connection to the land and waters, and thank them for protecting this land and its ecosystems since time immemorial. We pay our respects to elders past, present, and future, and we extend that respect to all First Nations peoples listening today.
Hope Book Club with Georgia and Simone. Because life's just better with a book.
Hi, I'm Georgia.
And I'm Simone.
And welcome to Hope Book Club podcast, where we gush about books from a hope-filled Christian lens. And we hope that this podcast makes you laugh, makes you think, but most importantly, makes you read. And we've got our March book review right here. We're going to be deep diving into Before the Coffee Gets Cold by Toshikaza Kawaguchi. And I'm so excited to welcome our very first guest on the pod. Hello, Braden Fitzpatrick.
Hello.
Woo! So excited to have you on the pod. Bit of context, you normally work behind the camera here at Hope in video production.
That's true.
We've coaxed you out for this episode. You were actually the person that first recommended this book to me like some months ago. So very excited to have you. What kind of books do you normally like to read?
I like the ones where I can get lost in them. So ones that really set up the world and just, or the ones that are really random and you're just in it.
How do you find them? Do you have review pages that you follow, or is it just kind of luck of the draw?
It's more like I would go into bookstores, and if the cover stands out, that's a major win. But then I read the blurb, and if it's like something that is in my line of this is what I find interesting, or like something stands out, I'm like, yes, cool, add it to the list.
Nice. How did you actually come across this book?
Same thing, actually. I saw it in a bookstore, and I was like, this sounds really interesting. I do love coffee, so the title stood out really. I read the blurb and I was like, this sounds up my alley. This sounds like something I'd want to read.
Well, without further ado, let's get into the episode. This, as always, will be spoiler-free, so if you haven't finished the book, if you haven't read the book, feel free to keep listening, keep watching. Don't worry about it. Now, this is a little bit of an introduction to this book. In a small back alley in Tokyo, there is a cafe which has been carefully brewing coffee for more than 100 years. But this coffee shop offers its customers a very unique experience, and that is the chance to travel back in time. In Before the Coffee Gets Cold, we meet 4 visitors, each of whom is hoping to make use of the cafe's time traveling offer in order to 1, confront the man who left them, 2, receive a letter from their husband whose memory has been taken by Alzheimer's, 3, to see their sister one last time, and 4, to meet the daughter that they never got the chance to know. But the journey into the past does not come without risks. Customers must sit in a particular seat, they cannot leave the cafe, and they must return to the present before the coffee gets cold. Already, when I was reading the blurb, it was such an interesting concept. Yeah. This was not anything that I had ever read before. This is actually a novel from 2019. It was originally adapted from a screenplay, which becomes quite evident once you start reading it. It's a very short one. It's only about 200 pages long. I read this probably in about 2 hours. I think it's very, very easy to read once you start picking it up. It is the first in a series of 3 books. The second one is called Tales from the Cafe, and the third is Before Your Memory Fades. They all follow the same precedent, all meet another 4 people within the book looking to travel either back or forward in time. I thought I would ask, what is your coffee order, Braden?
It would be a batch or a black coffee.
I shouldn't be asking these questions. I'm going to say right off the bat, this is a disclaimer. I don't like coffee. I don't like tea. And I know this might be sacrilege, so please don't come for me. Black coffee sounds horrendous. Yes, Simone?
I am an iced latte no matter the time of year. Okay. Cold, warm, anytime iced latte.
Do you add caramel?
No. No.
Oh, why not?
Absolutely not.
Why?
Flavoring, no. For me, that is just, it destroys it. Just plain good quality coffee, ice, sometimes oat milk instead of normal milk.
Do you reckon if I was in that book and I was asked to go back in time, you have to drink the coffee before it gets cold? Like, I actually don't think I could drink it. Do you reckon I could ask for like a hot chocolate? They would accept, or they'd be like,
so. I don't think they would.
Just so you know, in the book,
they didn't seem very happy about it.
It's black coffee.
Okay, I wouldn't survive. I wouldn't be able to go back in time. I couldn't do it. All right, let's get a little bit of an introduction to the author as well. Toshikaza Kawaguchi was born in Osaka in Japan in 1971. He was a playwright before he was an author, which is pretty obvious once you start reading the book. He formerly produced, directed, and wrote for the theatrical group Sonic Snail, which I think is just the best name ever.
Such a great name.
As a playwright, his works include Couple, Sunset Song, and Family Time. And the novel is originally adapted from a 1110 Productions play by Kawaguchi, and it won the 10th Suganami Drama Festival Grand Prize in Japan. So very well-known play in Japan, got adapted into a novel, and it's kind of taken off. I will admit that I actually saw a lot of this book on social media. It was one of BookTok's, so TikTok's favorite reads of the last year.
Massive on BookTok. Yeah.
Kind of got taken by the storm. The novel that we read was translated from its original Japanese to English by Jeffrey Trusello, which I guess brings me to my first question for you both. Sim, we'll start with you for this one. How did the adaptation from a play change the way you read this book? Because it read very differently from a novel, or at least it seemed that way for me.
It did. For me, I found a lot of the description really felt like stage directions.
It did, didn't it?
And so part of that, as someone who did a lot of theatre, loves theatre, writes that stuff, I could immediately see it in my mind, but not the way you normally see a book or, you know, get immersed in a book feel. I could see the stage.
I was going to say, did you imagine the stage as well?
I did.
Because I totally did.
I saw the stage and the characters, and you could see how they moved through the cafe on a stage rather than sort of feeling like you were actually in a cafe.
Braden, what about you? How did you feel?
Yeah, quite similar actually. I read it and I also did theatre. So like I had that in my mind, but it just helped me envision it better. I saw the cafe and I saw the customers, the regulars sitting in the background. The whole scene was laid out and it was just easier to kind of view.
Do you read a lot of adapted screenplays? Do you feel like that you flock to that a little bit because of your theatre background?
Not really. I mean, I have read some adapted screenplays, but I think it just definitely helps envision. And being in video as well, I always tend to focus on what it actually looks like. So whether that's a playwright or a movie, when I'm reading the book, that I tend to imagine the scene itself.
That's interesting. That's good. So that's the screenplay side of it. Obviously, the other side is the fact that it was quite clearly, in my opinion, quite obviously translated to English. Not necessarily in a bad way. I don't think it read clunkily. I don't think that's it wasn't bad in any way, but it was just different. It was different. I feel like it didn't have a lot of the flowery language that you hear in English novels. A lot of it was just quite straightforward. How did the translation affect how you read it, Braden?
I kind of didn't really notice it too much in the sense that I kind of just read it as it was. And it was kind of just simplistic in the way it was written. But because it's such a simple premise and idea, it kind of went hand in hand with the translation of how it was written.
Do either of you read a lot of foreign books?
I personally read a lot.
Yeah.
Just because I think the ideas, I read a lot of Japanese books and Eastern translated books because a lot of the ideas and premises are really simple, but done in a way with a twist. So like in this example, Before the Coffee Gets Cold, it's time travel, which we've seen in a lot of different books, different movies. But this one is like, you can go back, but here's a list of rules. And you like listen to the rules and you're like, would I go? And then it just makes it more interesting because there are these weird rules that you have to adhere to.
Absolutely. Sim, you read a lot of
I do. I read more sort of probably a lot more Scandi thrillers that have been translated. So again, it's that sort of thing of like you get to immerse yourself in a completely different culture as well as a different time and place. So like books can really help you travel. And I love that, being able to read and see things from very different cultures and not just sort of Western English culture.
I love that. All right, let's delve into the book itself now. Braden, let's start with you again. What were your first impressions when you first read this book? I know you read it quite a while ago, so if you can think back, what did you first think of it?
Yeah, first impressions were that it was quite simple. It was an easy read, but it was a lot deeper than I expected it to be. After reading the first story, you kind of get a sense of where the book's going once one story's done. And there's always a deep element to each story.
Yeah.
So the first time I read it, I was like, wow, this is actually quite deep and like delves into humanity and just some tough decisions around grief, around the unknown, and just these hard things that it was quite refreshing to read about.
Sim?
Yeah, so similar. Like I found it a little tough to get into to begin with.
I will stop you right there and say me too. I will
Yeah.
actually say I think it was because they had to set up the premise.
Yes.
And I found that a bit not tiring, but it was like
Get to the point.
Get into it.
Yeah.
Once they did,
But
it was a lot easier.
Again, it was once you sort of started getting into these characters and the grief and the different emotions and experiences that they were having. That's when I connected to the book and when I was then able to be like, okay. And it really was such a beautiful study of humanity and how we deal with not just regret, grief, day to day, all of those different conflicting emotions that you sort of end up having.
Yeah, that's so true. I will actually say as well, if you're thinking of picking it up, it deals with a lot of heavy subjects, but I wouldn't say it's a heavy read. It's a very easy read. As the story goes on, as we said, it's kind of in 4 acts, 4 parts, 4 separate stories with some kind of common characters woven throughout. It gets progressively sadder, as in the fact I thought by the end of the first story, I'm like, okay, sad, not too sad. This could be all right. And then my heart progressively got shattered in a good way. So if you do like books that make you feel
in a good way,
but maybe if you're not ready for like heavy themes of grief right now, maybe just wait till you're in a good space for that. Let's talk about magical realism. I have some thoughts in general about the fact I don't read a lot of fantasy. I don't tend to like magical realism, and I think that's because I'm just a very realistic, kind of rational, logical person. I like to read about kind of real fiction, but there was something so beautiful about the magical realism in this book. What did you guys think about it?
It was just done in a simple way that made it palatable. It was enough of the sci-fi fantasy time travel element, but still almost withdrawn, like held back. And so it's not this big scaled thing. It's just a really small, intimate adventures. Is more about each character and the journey they're going on.
Yeah, I found they grounded it really well. So the realism part of that was done so well that there were actually times I sort of almost forgot that time travel and that what they were doing was not something that's possible.
Yeah, be like, this is something I can do at the cafe down the road. Like, let me go there.
Because it was so grounded in that realism that it came across as sort of, there's still that little bit of disbelief at the beginning, but it was so matter of fact, and it was so dealt with so matter of factly at times with all the rules. I felt like it was grounded in realism and allowed for the time travel to really just be the mechanism for these characters to deal with things.
Yeah, that's actually a good point. It wasn't a central theme. Like it was, but it wasn't. These characters were still having completely human experiences that we all deal with. Yeah, it's interesting. Let's talk about regret and acceptance, because I feel like that was just such a huge theme, this idea, and I don't think I'm spoiling it too much by saying this, but one of the rules was you can only go back to the present until the coffee gets cold, obviously, but back to the past, I should say. But nothing you do in the past is going to change the present. That was made very clear. You cannot change what has been done. And I think all of these characters that went back to the past, they regretted something, obviously. And the grappling of that, they weren't going back to the past to change it. They were going back to, I guess, accept something about the situation within themselves. I don't know. It was very well done.
Yeah.
Okay. What do you think about it?
So I have thoughts on this.
Okay,
This was such a big thing for me and something that really resonated. Regret, and I think in particular regret of not necessarily, and again, I don't think it's spoiling anything, but for me, often the not saying something or not doing something is a big regret. And occasionally, like, there are times where you actually you get to the point where you don't have that opportunity to say that ever again. That moment is either gone for a variety of different reasons. And what I loved about this, and a lot of the rules that were kind of there as well, is the process of not just going back in time helped process, but also the lead up to that moment helped characters and helped people to be able to process. And it just reminded me over and over again that just being able to sit in those emotions and allow time to do its work makes a huge difference. You know, there are things that I might regret and really regret, say, not saying, but as I just allow myself to think that through and say it to myself anyway and spend that time processing it, you can get to a point of acceptance. And I found that was really great about this book is they delved into the entire process. And that wasn't just the going back in time and all of those sorts of moments, but it was even the lead up to that.
Yeah, that mental preparation.
Yeah.
And emotional preparation.
Emotional, yeah.
Yeah, I would also agree that build up of it's not just the characters that do go back. It's the conversations with the other staff members and their ideas and reasons of wanting to go and not wanting to go. And it all comes down to that time and almost this sense of closure, that it's acceptance and closure for these characters.
Yeah.
It's really time is just the main catalyst for this. It just happens to be there's some traveling element to it, but really it's just about the things that you did say or didn't say.
Yeah.
If you could go back, not to change it, but just to relive or just to get a new perspective.
Yeah.
All right. We have talked a lot about this already, but what did you connect with the most in the story?
So for me, one of the things that I loved is that, you know, it is all set in this sort of cafe and there's all these different characters. Some of them don't know each other beforehand and all of that. And despite what they're going through, all of the different things that they're accepting, and they come in with very, I don't want to say self-serving, but kind of very self-involved reasons. And yet this cafe still becomes a place of connection. It still becomes a place where they are a little bit entwined in each other's lives. And that I kind of loved. I loved that whole idea that while you're processing something that may be completely different to someone else, just the fact that you're still processing that can be a point of connection. It can be something that can help each other along.
And also people are witnessing you process that as well, because I really found that with the common characters, the cafe workers, the cafe manager and the waitresses, the regular customers even, they would observe so keenly about the people you know, who were going back in time or considering it, and they were so deeply a part of each other's stories. By the end, it was really beautiful to witness. Braden?
Yeah, I would say similarly that there's that word sonder, which is like everyone is going through something similar as you are, whether it's like the same or different, everyone's going through something.
Yeah.
So there was this real authenticity and rawness of a little picture of humanity of just the people in that cafe, but it felt a lot bigger than that at the same time. And what I really loved was that in the book, it's this really small cafe and not a lot of people are going back in time because it's almost like this thing, you've got to believe it to go there. You got to be in this situation. And it just makes it stand out more, because if everyone was going to go back in time, it wouldn't have a profound effect.
Yeah.
So I think the smallness and the scale and the authenticity of it all really resonated.
Braden, you've read all three of these, because this is a kind of a trilogy. There are some continuing characters in the second and third books, that's correct. Sim and I have only read the first, so were the sequels just as good? Do you recommend?
I do, for a few different reasons. The second one especially picks up where the first one stops.
Wow.
So it's like a continuation in that sense. And 3 kind of brings in some new traditions, I guess, in the sense of the rules itself. So it's a little sneak peek.
That's cool. Did the third book wrap up everything, or would you say that there's still space for a fourth?
I think there's still space just because of the scale of each of the books are the same separate stories. It only shows like a small picture of the characters that are coming in. There's still some more themes they could probably explore and some untold stories, which I would love to see.
One final question. Would you both go back in time? Would you sit in that chair without wanting to delve into your life stories? I promise I'm not asking your deepest, darkest questions, but you know, a little yes or no answer.
I have probably 2 scenarios where yes. Yeah, I think I would.
I mean, I would, if obviously there's so many more rules that you have to adhere to, but if it fit within the realm of the rules, then 100%.
That's interesting because I don't think I would. And I don't know why yet. I feel like I need some more time to...
So young, not enough regret yet.
No. Plenty of regret. I think it's more just because it doesn't change anything in the present. So I'm kind of like, well, maybe I can just process that on my own time. I need to go back into this cafe. Also, I don't like coffee. Guys, it would be a really tough experience for me to drink bitter black coffee.
That's true. Like
Anyway.
you have the added element of just it being a painful experience.
I don't think I can. I really, highlight enough how much I don't like it. Anyway, that brings our review portion of the episode to the end. Brayden, just want to thank you for being our very first guest, but also for your wonderful insights. Thank you so much.
No worries. Thanks for having me.
And next review episode, we're going to be back in 2 weeks with a little bit of a chat, as we always are, what we're reading, what we want to be reading, etc., etc. I am so excited for this. We're going to be reviewing Pip Williams' new book, The Bookbinder of Jericho. If you don't know Pip Williams, she wrote one of the best books I've ever read, The Dictionary of Lost Words. I cannot stop raving about this book. Paul Simone is probably so sick of hearing about it. But she is going to be coming out with a new book. I actually think by the time this episode drops, I don't even know if it will be out yet. It's very new.
Very new. I think early April it comes out.
So pre-order it. You can pre-order it. Tell your libraries to get it in, all that. We're going to be reviewing that in a month. Yeah, other than that, we'll be back in 2 weeks. We'd love to hear from you. You can send us a voicemail on 029854 7025 or leave a post in the Hope Book Club Facebook group. Tell us what you've been loving. We'd love to hear from you.
And everything, of course, is in the show notes.
Everything. But we'd also love this podcast to reach more people. So you can rate, subscribe, review, all the things. Share it with some bookish friends that you love and come and join the Facebook group as well. We'd love to have more people. But until next time, we will, I don't know what I was going to say. Until then, stay reading. That's what I was going to say.
Stay reading.
We'll catch you next time.
Stay reading.
Sim, you have a book famous quote to end on?
I do. This week it is from Charles W. Eliot, and its books are the quietest and most constant of friends. They are the most accessible and wisest of counsellors and the most patient of teachers.
Amen to that.
Like, this book can help with that.
Oh, so much. I need some real time to process it. Thanks, guys. We'll catch you soon.
See ya.
Hope 1032. Thanks for listening.